Paul, can you please mute yourself? All right, thank you. So I think, guys, we can start. Let's just get into it. So first, we will be going over the DB part. Furkan was kind enough to go over the basics with you. So what is really is needed to establish a connection, like what is really needed for us to get data from the DB, or like how we will be sending, or like running some queries, or like sending and receiving data to and from DB. So the basic thing really is to establish a connection, and then of course what you need is you need to prepare a statement, and then what you need to do is you need to execute that statement. So that really is what you need to do, in order to communicate with the database. Okay, so how we have done it in the exam. Okay, so Mafi Bhai was really kind enough to provide us with some of the methods that did help a lot. It did help me a lot, actually, uh, to get us started. I think it was pretty simple. Once you get the hang of it, it's not very difficult. So what we're doing here, first of all, we need to establish a connection, all right? So we need to have a couple of classes that we need to import. Like whatever, whenever we get into it, we'll get into it. I won't be going over MongoDB. Sachin is gonna do it tomorrow. So let's get into how we will be establishing a connection with the database. This is pretty much like a template would be provided to us, or just you can just reuse the same thing over and over again whenever you have to establish a connection with the database. So what we are doing here, this is like properties is something that we use to load properties from this properties file, dot properties file. So you have like a property here and then its value. You have a property here and then its value. You have a property here and then its value. So what we can use it in different ways. We can have username, URL, like we can mention various things here. This could go on for pages. And the reason why we need to do it is to make things dynamic. So we don't have to hard code everything. So we just go in here and change the parameters, the values, and they're used back in the DB. Let's say if we are doing it on core Java database, and then tomorrow we have to test the same thing on another database. So we just come here and change the database name. Or you know what, we can even have this as URL1 and then URL2, and we can use URL1 and URL2 and it changes, and then we can change it. So whatever, it sort of makes things dynamic for us. So we are just using a prop as properties, and then what we need from the method we need from it is load properties. So the properties class has a bunch of methods that we could use, but specifically the one that we need is load properties. So we use that one. We just instantiate it, and then what we need is a driver class. So we need to tell which driver we are using, as if it's a MongoDB or Oracle or SQL, whatever database that we are connecting to, it would come with a driver. And we can go online and we can find the driver. What is the URL for that DB? What is the username that we will be using for that DB? And what is the password we will be using for the DB? We already have been doing this. Like if we go in the command line, in order to establish a connection with the database, we enter all of this. But this is how we are entering here. We're getting all of these properties from, like, all of these values from the property file. So what we are getting here is from this file, this properties file that we are loading. What we do, we get the property, this property, whatever value this property holds, just replace the entire thing with that value. So the driver, the MySQL JDBC.driver, what does it hold? It holds this, const MySQL JDBC driver. So you would have this over here. This part, the jar file, it contains this. Then you're just specifying what is the URL or what's the address for your database. For now, what we've been using is just a local. It could be local, or it could be somewhere hosted on the same network, or it could be part of intranet, or it could be part of internet. It could be part of anything. So we need to know the address for that database. The address would either be, a name, a host name, or an IP address with the port. So that's really is like a whole mentoring session just on this. So we're not going to get into how we can obtain that. We just need to know what the address is for that database. So, and we're just telling it to use either SSL or not. We would have configured when we were, creating the database. So we're just passing that value here. We're just passing the username here. We're passing the password here, and then we're doing the class.forName, the driver class. I don't know what we're doing here, but then what we do is we just assign the value this driver manager dot connect get connection. So this is where actually we're getting the connection. Over here, we're just setting the values, and where we're getting the values from a file that is the properties file. So what we do is we pass the URL, we pass the username, and we pass the password, and this is how it will establish a connection, and connect would hold the connection basically. And then we could, we can do a lot of things using connect dot whatever we want to do. So this is the basic thing what we're doing here. We're establishing a connection to the database. So this was the first part. Now we have to prepare a statement. So for preparing a statement, what the method we use is called prepared statement. So prepared. So let me just give you guys the link as well. This one. So for you to study later if you want to. So this is what we will be using to prepare the statement, because we just don't want to send just a single statement. Even if you have to send a single statement, we just can't really write it. We don't open up a terminal or a console that is connected to MySQL and we just type in the query that we want to run. We have to prepare it. We have to send it to some method that is going to do something to it, and then it's going to send it to the database, to this, where it is, to this thing, where it is establishing the connection. So what we do, okay, let's get into the first method that Mafi Bhai provided us with. It's called read database. So what it does is it reads the database. How it does it? It reads the database, whatever we give it the table name and we give it the column name. So it's gonna go into the table name and it's gonna read the column name and return us the value in an array form. So whatever it's gonna get within that column, it will save into an array, and that is what it is returning. So data. So data we're initializing it here. It is an array list of string type, and it will hold all the values that it will get. How it will get it? So what we do is we prepare a statement. So statement, we tell it that connect.create statement. So where are we getting the statement from? So all right, sorry. First we connect it to database. So after connecting to database, we would be able to initialize whatever we want to do, and we can use the method connect. So connect is where we are, as explained earlier. This is where we are getting the connection. So once we establish that connection, so we would have different methods. So connect.create statement, or let's say close the connection, or commit something, or all of these they are available to us. So we can do everything. So you can even get the schema, or we can check if it's closed, if it's read only, or and then we can use the prepare statement. So once this connection is established, once we have it, and then we can use the connect variable and to do connect object to do multiple things. For now, what we want to do is we want to create a statement, which would be this thing, statement. All right, and the result set is what we get in return for passing the query. So we pass a query, and whatever we get, it saves into result set, and from that result set we have to read it or save it to array. We have to iterate through it, and then we have to save it to an array. So what we do is the data is get result set data. So result set and the column name. So we were passing it. So the get result set get result set data is also something that is a private class that he created, which basically iterates through the result set and gets one of the column. So while the result set has an next value, and just keep on getting it, and keep on saving it to column name, and keep on adding it whatever for that column name, whatever you get the value, keep on adding it to the data list, and then eventually return the data list. So this is how we end up getting one column. The result set would get everything. When we run you see over here what the query that we're passing, it's actually select star from the table name. So selecting star from table name would return us all the columns. Star means return us all the columns from the table name. So we don't have any other condition or anything. So it's going to return us the entire table, all the rows and all the columns, and that goes into results set. And from that we iterate and we get whatever we want. So this is how we are able to read the database. And then we're just surrounding it with the try catch so that we don't get any exception, and we are able to go through the with the program without any exception, without it being stucking it to an exception and stopping it. So, and then he has another method where he's closing the connection. Then there are a bunch of methods that we could have used, or or reused sort of. So this is one of the method that he gave us: insert data from array list to MySQL. So what we do here is we just pass an array list and we tell it which table, and we pass another name of the table, and we pass the column name. So it's gonna save whatever data is in the array list, in that array, and it goes in the table with this column name, whatever we're gonna pass. So it's gonna keep on saving to that column of that table name until the array list comes to an end, until the last the element of that list. So this is the same thing again. We're just preparing a statement. How we prepare a statement, there are a bunch of ways of doing it. For one way is to just write the query right here. So in the prepared statement, just what we can do is select whatever we want to do or insert whatever we want to do. But the way we are doing it here, we are appending a few things together. Why we are concatenating it together? Because we want to make it dynamic. So whatever value we pass here is the table name that goes here. So we just can't hard code it. If we hard code it, it would only be for one particular table and not for like multiple tables. That's why we have concatenation here. So insert into table name is the name of the table. Let's say we want to insert data in like employees table, So the statement would be insert into the table name would be employees, and then the values would be whatever the value is. Sorry, the table name, and then insert into employees. This is the table that we are inserting into, and then whatever the column we want to insert into goes afterwards, after this. So this is how we insert the data. And let's say we want to insert into employee ID, and the value we want to store is would we do it? I think we do it like this, right? Anyone? And then we do this. So this is the statement that we would be doing. So if we want to insert 1 into employee ID, so this is how it will work. So we pass the value in employees. Table name is employees. Wherever we're using this method, we pass the value employees here, and then we insert the column name that is empid. So it will insert a value to the next available record, 1. So it will add employee ID 1. So this is pretty much the basic. We Furkan did go over this yesterday in a lot of detail. If you want, I can try to get into more detail, but what I would want to do more is how I change this into using it for my own convenience, basically how I used it. So what I did was for the exam part, because the tricky part was that, okay, what this thing does, what the method were available to us, they would only insert data into one column. But what if we want to insert into multiple columns? Let's say we have a table. So we have this, and then we have, let's say, phone. So these are few of the fields that could be part of the table, and what we could have inserted using his own methods would have been, yeah, I'll get into it, Paul. That's actually what I'm getting into right now. So what we could have only inserted into this is this, uh, let's say my name. All right. So phone number. We couldn't have done it with the methods that were provided to us. That is because it could only save it to one column. So if we wanted to store it to more columns, one single record, the method that was provided to us as part of the exam, we wouldn't have been able to do it. Now, how we did it, how I did it, is I just just copied it and pasted it and changed a few things. What things I changed? First, we need to provide it with more columns and more values. So whatever, so the data we want to provide it, the table name we want to provide it, and the column name we want to provide it. So this is only for one column and one data, right? But what I did was the table name would have been the same, but what we want to do here is we want to have more than one column and one more than one area data, or even just one single variable if we want to store, let's say, right? So the column name, we want more column names, we want more array data. So what I did was I created another method where we are inserting data into three columns, not other than one, not just one. So instead of one, we are inserting into three. So for that, we need to pass values. Again, the table name, it's going to be the same, and then the first list of data, in which column one and column name it's going to go into, the second list of data and which column name it's going to go into, and the third list of data and the column name it's going to go into. Now we are getting all these values. Now what to do with these values? It's going to be the same thing. We will be establishing a connection right here, connect to database, and once we do that, we have this connect and dot whatever we want to do. Now for the PS, it's a variable that we Mafi by initialize somewhere up here. Anyway, so PS, we do is we assign the value of whatever we get from here to this PS. All right. Now, actually, PS. All right, don't worry about it. Anyway, so what we do is we use this method, prepared statement. How we prepare the statement? Insert into table name and then column one, column two, column three. Okay, so let's. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to add more values to a specific table. All right, so this one. No, oh man. So this program is really buggy on a Mac, but the thing I like about this is it creates the statement. That's the best part. Yes. PS basically is a prepared statement. Another instance of prepared statement. So what we want to do is how do we do it? Anyway, basically what I wanted to show is how we insert it in the table. This actual statement for inserting it into the table. So insert into the table name is design CNN, and what we will be doing is haven't done SQL in a bit, in a long time, which is why I'm not the best at it. Insert. So this is how we insert data into the table. So insert into and then the values, or insert into and then we provide it with the different column names and then the values. The value is the first one, the second one, and the third one. All right. So Paul, I hope this clarifies your question. This is what we are preparing. This is how we prepare the statement. This is the statement that we want to prepare. The column names and the respective values. Value 1, value 2, value 3. So the value 1 is going to go into column 1. Value 2 is going to go into column 3 in same similar way, and then we give the table name. So this is what we want to prepare before we execute a query. So this is what we're doing here. So insert into table name is the name of the table, and then the column, first column, the second column, and the second column, and then the values. Now all these question marks that we are putting it here, we replace these question marks with these values with the set string. The ps.setString is the method that we use to replace these question marks right here. So the first question, so it's going to be the parameter index is always going to be 1, 2, 3. Always starts from 1. It can't be 2, 3. It has to be starting from 1 because we have to give it the first value, the second one, and the third one. If either one of them is missing, it won't execute. It has to have 2. If it has 2, and then it has to has 2 of these. If it has 3, then it has to has 3 of these. So for the first one, we are giving it the value array data 1. So the statement that would be actually prepared would be insert into the table name employees, and then the first column, second column, third column. So we want to do is EMP and then we want to do is what you want to do is EMP name, and then EMP phone number, right? So these are the value, these are the column names in which we want to add the values. Which values? These values. So for ID 1, and then phone number. Okay. So if we were to pass if we were to pass employees, employee ID, EMP name, EMP phone number, 1, Bilal Wahid, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. If we were to pass all these values into this method, this statement would prepare this query. It would prepare this query, save it into PS, and then we would be executing this. So then we do ps.execute update. So whatever we have saved into prepared statement would now be executed. So execute update versus there's another thing. So one is when we are getting the data from, like, we're like getting something back, and the other one is that we're not getting something back, we're just running a query. So when we are doing the read one, so we do execute query right here, you see. So when we are executing a query, we are expecting something back from it. But when we are doing execute update, we're not expecting anything back. We are not going to get anything back. But instead, we would be able to run the query and it will just save all these there. All right. Where was I? Right here. So basically, this is what I did. There was one problem where I wanted to save 3 columns, not just 2 or just 1. So that is how I modified it, and then I did the same thing, copy pasted it, and then changed it to 2, and then I changed it to 4, and then I changed it to 6 columns. So I keep on passing the values, and I keep on adding question marks, I keep on adding these things, and this is how I kept on modifying the methods, creating more methods. I wish I could have done, just I like kept on passing the column names and array in as format as an array, and values as form as an array, and this would have been automatically like prepared. I think if I were to do it in a loop, I could have done it, but it was just a lot of work at that time. So this was the shortcut for me that I did, and I ended up inserting more than one column. I can show you how my data is sent to the database. So the lowest one, the pattern. All right, Othman, I'll just quickly go over it. Uh, where we wanted to store. Anyways, let's just get into this one. So see how this is how my data is going into the database. It's because I'm using the method with 6 columns. So I'm passing 6 values. The first one is apart from the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is autogen. Whatever record I'm going to insert, I will be keep on inserting into these ones, and this would automatically populate. So I don't have to worry about this one, the ID part. And this is because this is the primary key. I mean, I would want it to autogen. And over here, I pass. Actually, there should have been one more over here. That would have been the ID that I would be assigning it. This is the ID that the database is assigning to that record. So there should have been another one in between these two, the ID that I would have been assigning. Let's say like my ID is 8044, someone else is 8232. So all of these are IDs assigned. But if our data is stored in PIIT's database, the ID for them, our record, would not be 8044. It would be something else. It would be something like this. This is SQL Pro. It's pretty light. It's not as buggy as a SQL Bench, Workbench. With Workbench, you have a lot of things that you could do from the GUI, like especially like preparing statements. You keep on, adding something to it, and at the end, whatever changes you do, it will show you a query that it's going to run. If you accept it, then you run it. So it prepares the statement and then it asks you if you want to run it or not. So this is really, really nice, a nifty feature of Workbench. But SQL Pro, I really like it because it's really lightweight. So this is the content. This is my structure. So it's showing how things are. Then we can even run like a query here too. All right. So this is how I was able to insert data. Now, Othman, the part that you sort of missed is where we are establishing a connection to the database. How we do it, there are 3 things that we need to do. We need to be able to connect to the database. We need to prepare a statement, and then we need to execute the statement. So these three, sorry, the third part is we need to get the result in result set. These 3 things are what we need if you want to communicate with the DB. So first we communicate with the DB using a property file. The property file is this one. How we communicate with that using this properties, this object. So properties, we like creating an object of this class, properties class prop. And then what we're doing from it is we're loading we do the load properties method. So this is all that is holding in the prop. So what we keep on doing is we load the property. We get property from the SQL from this properties file, MySQL, and we whatever the property with value for this property is, it's going to replace this entire thing with that property. So the driver part holds the value where which class is the driver class, and the URL is the address for my DB. The password, username, and password is what it is. So this is how we establish a connection. So wherever we want to do, we just connect to we call this method connect to database, and it's gonna whatever is after establishing. Doing something similar. What I'm doing is I'm testing our forum, the PIIT forum. So let's just run the test. So I'm testing if we are able to successfully log in with correct and incorrect credentials, and then log out if we are logged in, right? So I have 3 tests. So you see Chrome started, running the first test, it passed, it closed, it's starting it again, running the second test, that passed, and then it closed and opened it again, and then running the third test. So it basically ran all 3 tests, and all of these passed. How we are doing it? So for this, again, we don't need to have Um, oh, sorry, you guys do have questions. Please show how we can use linked list in hash map. Okay. And did you say yesterday that there is an easy way to open MySQL, like establishing something? I'm not sure what it was. Sorry, Mohammed Rashid, what you're asking, like how we can connect with the DB, like how we can establish a question, like in a connection? Oh, the environment. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. So in the path, see, I am in users and slash Bilal directory. I don't have to. I don't. So my SQL is somewhere else. It's somewhere in its own directory. And in like if I wanted to open that command or run that program, I would have to go in that directory to be able to run it. But there's another way of doing it. We don't. There are a few things that we can set it as a path, and for that we wouldn't have to go into that directory and run it from there. So instead of me in DOS from instead of me typing C slash program files slash MySQL slash bin slash MySQL, instead of me doing this, I could just I could just do my SQL. And this, what me typing it over here is actually what it's doing. It's searching into one of the paths that I've set as like in the environment variable that I've set, uh, and it's going through all of these directories, like 5, 10, 15, as many as I have. It's gonna go into those directories and see if this program is in one of those directories. If it is, it will run it. If it's not there, it will say that this does not exist. So let's say my SQ, there is no such command. Not in one of those folders, not in any system folders or any of the folders that are set as system path, or sorry, as environment variables. So that, which is why it said command not found. If I had not set the path, my SQL, it would, even me running it over here, it would have given me an error. So the easiest way is to just set a path. Now, my question to you is, are you using Windows or are you using a Mac? Because there are different ways of doing it in both of them. Okay, for Windows, the easiest way is to go. Uh, yeah. Okay. How about I show you in a bit? For that, I'll have to get my other machine is in the next room. Let me just go over a few other things, and then I'll get back to it. The path. It's fairly simple. You just have to go in a few things. I just don't know from the top of my head. Set environment variables Windows. So these are this is how you do it. Windows 10, go in control panel, advanced system settings, go in environment variables, system variables, and just add there. And what you do is you just copy the entire path, copy this C colon slash. You just navigate to that path and copy it and then paste it there. So if you paste it over there, so every time you run a command, that is, if you're not in that folder, it will search for in all of those folders and see if it exists in one of those. Actually, just give me 1 second. Okay, so let me just show it to you as well quickly. Okay, how we do it. It's really easy to do it in Windows, but it's a bit tricky for me to do it in Mac because I actually never did it before. So thank God you have Windows. I can tell you how to do it. Otherwise, I would have had to go in and Google it again, and then I was able to do it. Anyways, let's go. Okay, so basically you go and yeah, or you can follow what he's saying. I can quickly show it to you as well. Uh, so you're just gonna go into the properties of my computer, and then you go into advanced system settings, and then you go into here, environment variables, and you just do a new over here, right? This one, yeah. Now, this PC or my computer. So you go here, you go here, you go in program files, and you go in MySQL and server, utility workbench. Which one is it? Yes, the server, right? So you want to go in lib because no, bin. So bin is which has this file. So you want to be able to execute this file from wherever, from any directory. So what you would be doing is you would just copy this and this. So the name of the this variable name would be MySQL path and do OK. That's it. Now the next, I hadn't done it over in this one. So cmd MySQL. Oh, it's not working. This should work. I guess I have to restart the computer for this. All right, Ahmed, let me show it to you. Put it. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Thank you, guys. It was basically not for Bilal. For it should have been for user variables. This is you guys are right. Copy it again. Then we just delete it and we add it to this one. Uh, I think I have to restart. Oh, no, I have to click OK for that. Sorry, guys. Still not. I really think we have to restart the computer for that. Anyways, this is how you do it. You set the environment variable and it'll work. Now, for Mac, Google really is your best friend. No, no, no. You're just adding the bin folder. Mohammad Rashid, you're just adding the bin folder. So everything in bin folder is available to you, wherever you want to do. You need to add semicolon at the bin. Do you need to? I'm not sure about that. Sorry, Othman. And I don't think you'd have to. I don't think you have to. No, not this one. Mm, hello. I think you have to. Yes, I think so too. Yes, you guys, you were right, Othman. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. This one, right? Yes, there you go. So you go in this one and then you create a new one over here. All right, let's try. There you go, guys. It worked. Thank you, Osman. Yeah, yes, you're right. If it hadn't been the previous one, we had to do it the other way. There was another way of doing it. Uh, there was, a path file over here. Traditionally, there was a path file over here in the C directory, C slash, which you just go in and you just edit it, something like that. But they've changed it, and now previously Windows was built on like it ran on command prompt, and now command prompt is just like a part of Windows. That's how they're like they changed it. That's why. Okay. Um there was a really easy way that I did. This wasn't the easiest one. Um, I'll get back to you on this one and I'll post it in Hangout. Let's just not waste time and searching for it, like all of us searching for it. If you Google it, you can find it. Otherwise, I'll do it for you. No worries. Okay. So let's see how let's get into what we did in class the other day. What we did was we did browser automation. What browser automation is to be able to like perform some tasks, like perform some actions on the browser. Open the browser, load a page, find something, click it, and then get the response. I mean, upon clicking, upon entering, upon doing something, upon performing an action, what is the result of that? So like the entire thing is like could be used for testing purposes. So let's say we created the entire team created a website which is forum.piit.us. Now we want to check, we made some changes to it and we want to check if the login still works for us. How we can do it, we can just, we can have an Excel sheet, we can go here and we can manually type this and this and we press login and it's going to present us with this message, which is one of the expected results. Now if it's an expected result, we just say, okay, now this was expected. And then what we do is we try it with the wrong password. It's going to say the password was incorrect. Then we're going to try it with the correct password. These are different scenarios that we can run, different tests that we can run to see if it is performing correctly. I mean, if we were to enter nothing and it would have taken us inside the forum, I mean that would have been an error. The reason it's taking us inside the forum is because we're already logged in. So this is expected that we fill nothing in and it gives us an error. This basically, it's not going to the server, it's just checking here. Instead of putting load on the server, it's just checking it on the page if there's something filled or not. And then if we do fill something in, let's just say BW, and we enter a password, even if we put the correct password, but the username isn't correct, so it should give us wrong, it should give us an error. The username doesn't even exist. Now, then we say be Wahid and we just enter the correct one, or we just enter the wrong password. It gives password incorrect, and then correct one it just logs us in. So this is all the expected results. Now, if you notice, like when we are doing it manually, we're checking for the messages that we're coming up. So that's the part of our test. So if we do this, that should come up. If we do that, this should come up. So this is how we are testing. Now, how do we automate it? Like there are hundreds of pages that we want to test. Like, or there are changes happening like every now and then, and we want to do it every now and then. We want to do it every day. We want to test the login page every week or something. We can't be doing it manually one by one. That would take so much time, so much of resources. I mean, imagine like a highly skilled person doing it manually and doing it over and over again. I mean, that would be such waste of resources. So What we do instead is we automate it. How do we automate it? There are different ways of doing it. The one we are doing right now is through Selenium and using Java. We're operating the Selenium's API through Java. So how we do it? Where is it? Yeah. So for that, we need to have a few things. We need to have the driver for every uh, browser is different because it behaves in a different way, different manner. I mean, the way what we need, what we how we call that driver, how we send the command to open it would may be different for one browser and maybe different for another browser. So which is why they have drivers. So we what for all these drivers we just say get the address. So for getting the address, what it would do is it will open the browser and navigate to that page. So we don't have to learn and we don't have to know for Mozilla or for Firefox, we use this command, and for Chrome, we use that command. So, which is why we have drivers. So we have the driver here. We load the driver, and how we load the driver. This is actually how Isran did it. Thank you, Isran, for the help. This is how we are going to be setting it up. In the class, he showed us that we do it in one class. We shouldn't be doing that because it's just easier on the eyes. It's easier to debug. It's easier to run and change whatever we're going to do, make it more dynamic. So this is like a better way of doing it. We have a utility page, a utility package where we have the UI driver with which a bunch of methods. So what methods do we have here? First, we need to load the driver. So we get the driver. First, how we get the driver? First, we check if the driver is loaded or not. If the driver is not loaded, then what we do is we load the driver. So how we load the driver, we check again from the properties page that I just went over for the exam. We have a properties page for it as well. In the properties page, what we are telling is that the property browser has the value Chrome. So if it has Chrome, it would we ended up making the entire thing, and then we went back and tried it and wanted to try it in a different one. So we don't really have to go in and change this part of the code to this part, or change this part to this part. So we ended up having a switch case where it's checking what the browser value holds. If it holds Chrome, then use this one. If it holds Firefox, use this one. If it holds Safari, then use this one. So this is how we just change it over here, and it will execute for that browser. We also would be doing it for multiple browsers because everyone has their own preference. I mean, I use Safari, you use Chrome, someone else uses Firefox, and I mean there are a bunch of browsers available. So and if I have a bank, I want my web application for that bank to be able to run on all the platforms, on all the browsers. So for that, I mean, what we would be doing is we would just do it for one browser, run all the tests, and come back here, change the value, and change it for the other one. We can even have username and passwords over here for different tests that we would be executing. I mean, that's really up to us how we design it. For the sake of time, I ended up just doing this. And so we basically just change the value over here, and it'll load the properties from this file into the UI driver, and then based on what this property holds, the value this property holds, we would load that driver. How we load the driver? We use the system.set property, and we specify the name of the driver and where this driver exists. And again, we set the property for this one, and we will specify where the path of that driver is. So this is how we're doing it. And for Safari, it's like a whole ball game. We need to get not just the extension for the browser, we also need to get a digital sign certificate that we would have to go onto their website, sign up, pay $109 for that, and then we would be able to develop for Apple. So that's how one can actually go in and get the certificate. Once we have the certificate, and then and only then we would be able to communicate with Safari. Be able to test anything on it, automate anything on it. So if there's no such, if nothing is provided here, I shouldn't be doing it because it didn't work for me. It should be Chrome. I should just leave it that way because we're still like doing something. Anyone has any question? Apparently not. All right. So how we then what we do? So once we establish that we want to get this driver file and this driver for our test case, then what we do is we tell the with the ID we tell the Java to wait 15 seconds to make sure that it loads. So implicitly wait is a method that would check if the driver has been loaded or not, and it will check for how many time we specify. Let's say we put 15 seconds. So if it's not loaded for 15 seconds after that, then and only then it will throw an exception, not before that. So let's say I don't do this, I do this. Now, if I run the program, what it will do is it would not throw the exception right away. It will wait 15 seconds. I mean, something could be wrong. The system could be, there's a lot of load on the system, or there could be a number of things that could go wrong. So it will wait 15 seconds, and only then it will throw an exception, not before that. So that's what we're doing here. And we're doing the maximize is that we're just, setting it to maximize. I mean, we don't really have to do it. Once we get the hang of it, we won't be really, I don't think we would be actually seeing what's going on here. We would just run it in the background, and if it passes, then it passes. That's it. So, and then we have a method that we need to close the driver as well. We need to exit the application, close the driver, and set it to null, so that, I mean, it's not taking up space in the memory. So these are the three methods that we created. I saw Ezra, he created a lot more. I mean, even for clicking. Excuse me. So over here, I'm clicking it like this, like find the element, and then if it's this, sorry, not this one. Where am I clicking? So we're sending the keys, we're clicking. So I mean, I'm doing all of this through the main driver, the UI driver, through this, the get driver part. So through this, I'm doing all of this. You don't necessarily have to do it, and I think the good practice would be to create different methods, which one you could use for clicking, one you could use for sending keys, one you could use to check if that particular element exists or not. So how we check, like in plain words, if we are to test something, so the first test is we passing the username and an incorrect password, right? And then what we do is we find this element, we put this value in it. Then we find this element, we put this value in it, and then we find this element and click on it. And then we check if this element has this value, if it equals to this text in this box equals to password incorrect. If that's the case, the test passes. It really passes because this is what is expected so when we enter the wrong password, it would give us this error. So this is what we would be doing. This is what we would be automating, how we would be doing it. So we created a bunch of methods for creating the connection, like getting the web driver to be able to open the browser. And instead of us doing it in the main program to make it neater, we do it in a different class, and we just call that. So we have it in a different package. So we need to first import that package. So where we're doing it, over here, utilities.star. This is where we are importing this package. Okay. Now, I'll get into it later, this part. I'll get into it in a bit. So what we need to do for the JUnit testing, what we need to have is a test case. That really is what we need. I mean, whatever else we have, it's good to have it. What else is good to have? Setting up the environment, running whatever commands we want to run before the actual test begin. If this thing passes or not, we want this to be part of it. And I mean, what if we are not able to load it? Then this would mean the test failed, not that we had trouble setting up the environment. And then once we are done with the test, what it would do is it would close the it would call the function close driver, that means close the browser, and set it to null. So this is before and after what we want to do. Now how it will run in this way, that if we have more than one test, I mean, obviously we would have so many more tests, we would want to group it together. In the class we only did one test, but so let's say we have a login test, login logout test. Then we have let's say be able to post it onto forum. Let's set the news, like start a new post. So I mean, these are different tests, and one test, like big test, could be grouped into different various small tests. So this is what we really are doing here. So we are testing if we are able to log in using just for login. You see how many different tests are there. If we are able to log in using the correct credentials, if we are able to log in using incorrect credentials. So these are the login, just only regarding the login. These are the two tests that we can run. We can even run another one where we're not passing anything. So that's also another test. So if we're just checking the function, the login functionality, you see we have more than one test that we can run. Now, why we would want to do it in different tests? We could have it in just one test. Log in with this one, log in with that one, log in with that one, different ones. Now, the reason why we want to have it in different tests is to be able to see which one passed and which one failed. So this is why we want to group it in different tests. So every time each one of these tests would run, this would be executed before and this would be executed after. So I'll quickly show it to you. Now you'll see, not this one, this because this instance is already running, it'll run another instance. You see this one over here. So it's running the first test. Now it closed it, running it again. It's going to close. It's going to run. See, it's running again and it's going to close again. So basically what's happening here, every time we are running this test, we are running this before and this after. Now there is another one, before class and after class, these two. Now these two are used for us to run once before all the tests are run and after all the tests are run. So let's say we want to open the browser, and every time we just don't want to open, close it, open, close it. See, we want to open the browser and we want to do something, open a new tab in this one, in the before one, and we want to run the test. So every time a test is gonna be executed, it will open a new tab as it would have been mentioned here, and it would run the test, each test, and then another one, each test, another one, and each test. But it'll keep open the browser, the instance of the browser. It will be loaded in the memory. It will kept on loaded until the entire tests are run, and then in the after class we will mention to close the browser. And that's another way of doing it. So after class would only be run once. So how this works, so basically first time it'll run the before class, then it'll run before, then it'll run test, and then it'll run after. Now there are more than one test. So let's say we have 3 tests, and then finally the after class. This is how the entire the method would be executed. So the before, whatever we have in the before class, it'll run, and then the before test A and after, before test B and after, before test C and after, and finally the after class. So we can just have, you know, open browser here and new tab, test A, close tab. Again, same thing, before run test B, and after it's going to close tab, and finally close browser. This is how it'll run. These are all the methods, the way we can run it. Now, which test to run? Either test A, test B, test C. Which one to run before? Like which one would be the first one to run? Because over here, if you see, it's just test. It doesn't say test 1 or test A or test B. It's just test. Test right here. Now, this could be any method. I'm just naming it test A, test B, and test C. I mean, this could be test with incorrect password. It'll still run. But how it is choosing which one to run first and which one to run afterwards, over here we're mentioning fix method order. Now sort the methods, sort the test methods by ascending order. So we have a bunch of like the default one is whatever is gonna come. There's no guaranteed way of knowing which one would run first. Usually it's the one in the like the right order. Whatever you put first, the second one and a third one afterwards, it should run in that way. But the best practice is to just name it ascending in ascending order. And if you use this one ascend in ascending order, it will run in ascending order. So it will run test A first, test B, and then test C. Even if I have if I put test B afterwards test C, it'll still run because it'll sort all these methods in an ascending order and it'll run. So this is what I was like I was getting into. This is how we can set the priority. Which one is the first one that we would want to run, and which one is the second one we want to run. SM Hawk, kindly mute yourself. Just remind. SM Hawk, I'm just gonna mute you. If you have any questions, just raise your hand or just type, okay? Okay, so now actually let's just get into the actual test. So the first time, so what we're doing, we're setting up the environment. So before we open the driver, and once we get the driver, we want it to navigate to this site. So we go to this website, and afterwards, what we want to do is, once we're done with all the tests, we want it to use the close driver. Now, the first test is when we have incorrect credentials. Now, the username and password incorrect. So if so basically in this portion, what we really are doing is asserting. Assert if this is true. If it's true, then if assert true is true. If this is false, then assert true is false. All right. So what if true is true? If the test passes, what is true? If the test passes, is this one. Get driver, find element. So from this method, what we're calling is from this class, we're calling this method find element by XPath. So I found that XPath really is the easiest one. I tried using the class name, I tried using some other thing, but it wasn't really working out for me. So the best one is if we have like an instance of Firefox running, we have the Firebug installed, and we navigate to whatever page or application we're testing. We run it, we run the Firebug, and then we click on the arrow thing, and we navigate, we point to whichever field we want to inspect. Now we're basically inspecting this, and we're getting with the fire path. The fire path is a utility that gives us the X path for that one. So this really is the X path. We just copy it and we use this one. So what we really are doing it, we are finding an element by X path. Which element? The element which has this X path. Now, if this element has now this element get the text, whatever text this element has. So this element has, if this element has text password incorrect. So what we, for this one, let's just try this. I really don't know, Othman. Sorry, I just know that this is XPath. I'm not sure what the difference is. If anyone has anything to add to it, where Othman is asking if it's an absolute regular path, X path, I mean, you're more than welcome to interrupt me and explain this part kindly. I mean, this would help me too. I think so too. Absolute means that it's kind of fixed, right? I mean, because for this website, I kind of know it's absolute, it's fixed because it's just fixed. I mean, if it's some other sort of it's dynamic, I don't know what really it is. I don't want to confuse anyone by, assuming anything. Maybe I can look into it afterwards. And what else I want to do? Setting up that and that. All right. So this is what I'll be looking into afterwards. Okay. And if I do find something, I'll share it in Hangout. So basically, what we are doing, first test involves us checking if if we enter an incorrect password. So how we can find that out? We enter something, and how we can tell if the password is incorrect? Everything else is the same, right? Everything is the same. Only thing different in the page is this part. So we want to know if this part does contain password incorrect. How? We inspect the element using Firebug. We click on it. It's going to take us here. Now the class name is error. I tried doing it. It doesn't really work that way. So what you do is you just copy the XPath for it. We got the XPath, and now we're checking if this XPath and the text within this XPath is this. So if it is this, that means our test passed. That means it's true. So it's going to set the value of assert.assert true to true, and that would mean that our test has passed. Now, what we are doing here is PIIT forum dot enter forum incorrect credentials. So now I'm calling a method over here that basically is entering incorrect credentials in on that page. How? Let's see. So enter forum incorrect credentials. So what we do is we get the user info, and the user info is basically my is a class which has my username and password. Okay, so we just create an object and of user info as we know this. So what we do is we get the UI driver dot get driver dot find element by class name. So if we find this by class name, and in the input text box, whichever class has this one text, send keys to that get username. So whatever username it's gonna get from that user info, whatever is stored there. So over there it says be Wahid. So what it'll do is it'll send those keys to that text box. That's the first thing. The second thing, what it's doing is it's entering this password. It's actually not really working. When we run it, what it does is it gives us the wrong message. It shouldn't be that. It should be by XPath because it wasn't working for me. But anyways, we'll take it for now. So how we do it? We find the text box, input text box, and we send keys of username. We find the input password text box, and we send it 1 2 3. And then what we do is we find the submit button, and we click and then we click on it. So this is us entering incorrect data into the form and then clicking submit. So we're just calling this method. So this portion is calling that method, and the page afterwards, the page is loaded. Now the page after submitting the form with incorrect data is loaded. On that page we have this message. So basically the method ran whatever it ran, and then it came to this page. Now this page, we need to check if this page has this element with the incorrect password. If it does, that means our test passed. Now the second test is the same thing. We're calling a method where we are entering the correct credentials. Now the correct credentials, how we're doing it. So we find the element by XPath, and we enter the username, and then we enter the password, and then we find the submit button, and then we click on it. So once we do click on it, we do the correct one. This is this one, and then we click on it, and what it does afterwards, the second test. Sorry, this was the first test, and this is the second test. Yeah. So the second test, what it's doing is performing all the actions in this method, and then it's checking if we are able to find this thing. What is this thing? Okay. Let's just log in. Oh, which one has saved? Yes. Yes, exactly. I mean, there could have been a number of things that I could have done. I could have looked into the header, and I could have seen what the value is over there. I could have seen that my name is coming up there. I could have matched it with this one. So let's say I have a bunch of usernames. I want to check if they are all able to log in, and if all are being able to log in into their respective accounts. It's not that you are trying to log in using your credentials and you end up in my account. So this could have been a test too. how do we confirm that you are actually logging into your account? Because if we only do the logout button, it doesn't tell us that we logged into our own account. It says that we were able to log in. So what we would have done is we would have, inspected this element and got the text from it, and using the substring, and we could have, just skipped the first five and could have taken this one, and then we could have matched this with whatever username we're sending it to. So the simplest way, really, given the time, I mean, not given the time, I mean, the time I could have spent on it, I only spent a couple of hours today. I mean, I could have spent a number of hours in the past couple of days doing and like perfecting this, but I didn't do it. I only did it today, to be honest. So today I worked on it, and this is the easiest one I could have come up with. That to see if the logout button exists. How? So this is the logout button, and I'm just checking if this exists. If this does exist, then that means I was able to log in. Really, really basic test that we are doing here, just to show that how we can do it. So if we are able to see the logout button, then what you do is you pass. If it is displayed, then this is displayed would is a boolean. So if it's either true or it's false. So now it's because it's displayed, that means it is true. So now because it's true, it's gonna set assert true to true. That would mean our test has passed. Again, it's the same. What I'm doing here is once I'm logged in, I would just want to check if I'm able to log out. So I'm just logging in. I'm calling this with correct credentials, and then I'm calling this method forum logout. What that one really is this one. So get the driver, and from the driver call this method find element by xpath, and this really is the logout button, and then you just click on it. So this is how like we would be able to do simple tests. Now, once we do it, we can export these values to wherever we want. I mean, depending on our environment, I mean, if we're using Excel sheets, we can really export data from here to Excel sheets, I mean, read and write to Excel sheets too, using Java, using IDE. And that way, I mean, we could, completely automate everything. We run the test. If it's passed or if it's failed, I mean, we just send the value passed to a specific column, and that will, just populate our Excel sheets, whatever template is given to us. So this is, I mean, how we would be running tests. Any questions? So since we do have time, and maybe if someone does have any question, maybe they're typing it. Let me just see if because I did visit that one, that link, how to set up an environment variable back. This is not the one. Yeah, basically we are adding a new line to the bash profile. Basically, I think that pretty much that we're doing. Let's just run this one. Yeah. Yeah, this is the one. Path is an environment variable that like we are able to yeah, that's it. I think this is the one. You can add path to any of the following method or by using export syntax method one. So try this. So this is the yeah, this is how I did it actually. Who asked? Was it Rashid? Rashid, you want to try this? Now, one thing you should No is where your SQL is. Okay, so it should be no. Let me tell you where it is. This is the directory that you need to set the path as. Okay, so okay, sorry. So your question was answered. Who else asked for it? Sorry guys, I totally forgot. I was, yes, Ahmed. Ahmed Kareem. So what you do is you open your terminal and what you write is basically write this. So you see, this is the file that we want to be able to run from anywhere, wherever we are, in whatever directory we are. I mean, so we don't really have to navigate to this folder every time we want to run this file, this program. So, or even the Mongo that I said, Mongo D. So it now the server is running. So see, we were in the main, like the root folder. We don't have to go in that or any other folder to be able to run it. Okay, there you go. So see, we are in our root folder and we were able to execute the file for which the path was set. Mohammed Rashid, are you able to set your path? Did it work for you? Anyone else? Any questions? I mean, this is pretty much all I wanted to do. Uh, I was planning on taking a couple of breaks, like 15-minute breaks every like half an hour. So, or even, a 10 minutes break after like 5 minutes. Every 5 minutes, we would take a 10-minute break. This is how I was planning on doing it, but I don't know. I mean, I ended up, going through the material. So, no questions? No, nothing? Why doesn't this work? I mean, this should work. No, this is the new file. I think it's because this is the newer version of OS X. This is, I think, for the older one. That's why. Anyways, I mean, I can share this as well. Whoever has Mac, I mean, they can go through this website and they can see how they can set variables, environment variables in a Mac. Okay, let's just all take a 5-minute break and let me see if I have anything else I can do.